What is going on, everybody? Welcome into Fantasy Alarm Sports Talk. I'm your host, Howard Bender. With me, of course, Adam Ronis here on Friday, Black Friday, right? It's a nice big sale day here at fantasyalarm.com/Black Friday. Get yourself a nice little discount on Going Pro. Adam, how are you today? How was your Thanksgiving yesterday? You look just as skinny today as you do all the other times, so you obviously didn't eat much.
Nah, I just never put on weight. I'm one of those people that, especially the ladies, they're really jealous of me. They're like, you could eat whatever you want and you don't put on any weight. So I've been fortunate so far throughout my life. We'll see if it ever changes. But yeah, I like to eat. It just doesn't show.
Yeah, us fat guys also a little bit envious of the metabolism. So, all right. Well, yesterday's games were, the first one there, we don't really need to recap too much. Texans, Lions horrible. Texans completely penalty ridden, but Deshaun Watson takes over and lights up the Lions there. Washington destroys the Cowboys. Like you and I talked about before, once those two offensive linemen for the Cowboys went down, you might as well have just packed your food to go and started your drive home because there was no sense in watching the rest of that.
Yeah, it's been a big problem for them this year. Offensive line, they've been hit with a lot of injuries. They got Zach Martin back the week before, and they were better. But once he left early, they were in big trouble. And Andy Dalton was under a lot of pressure. Antonio Gibson came through, 3 rushing touchdowns. He's been one of the top fantasy running backs this year. We knew that he was going to get a good opportunity. There's been some weeks where a little too much J.D. McKissick, even Peyton Barber sprinkled in, but it was the perfect game script for him with the team ahead. And certainly a good day if you had Antonio Gibson and Will Fuller. I happen to have 2 of them together on my home league team. So it was a good day. Even though Dallas lost, I won my parlay, the in-game parlay with FanDuel. And it was mostly Washington props too.
Very nice. Very nice. Let me ask you a question here. If you were doing a Week 12 start sit and you had 4 running backs for 3 flex spots, you gotta pretend that you erase yesterday's knowledge there. But if you had Antonio Gibson, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, and Mike Davis all ready to go, who's the odd man out on your bench?
Davis.
Davis is? Really?
Yeah.
You don't like his matchup?
No, it's just I don't trust him as much as the other 3. And I had, the ranking. I think Gibson was at 10, Davis 11 or 12. You would have had to make that decision yesterday. Jacobs is banged up, dealing with a hip issue. But yeah, I would have absolutely played Gibson yesterday.
All right. Well, in one league I did, in one league I did not. So what are you going to do? It happens. I don't think it's going to come.
Gibson, Gibson had the 100-plus yards against Dallas already. Dallas hasn't been great against the run. They were dogs by 3. You knew it was going to be a close game. Going into yesterday, he scored a touchdown in 4 consecutive games. And Mike Davis, yeah, would I play him this week? Sure, but he's been trending down. He just hasn't been great, and he's not as heavily involved in the passing game lately. So that's why he would have been below those 3 for me.
Gotcha. I went the other way. I went with the fact that he's facing Minnesota. We've seen Minnesota's run defense super soft in comparison to the past run defenses that they've been playing. I have multiple shares of Gibson all over the place, so I felt pretty good about, if I was going to try it out in one league, might as well do it in this one where I don't really have much of a concern. The rest of my team is just insane. It's insane. It really is. Nevertheless, we're here to help guide you guys through Week 12 the rest of the way. Now, big news right now. We know that the Baltimore Ravens-Pittsburgh Steelers game has officially been moved to Tuesday, December 1st. Technically, it's still going to be part of Week 12 for fantasy. But Adam, how are you looking at this game now? You've got Deontay Johnson, Claypool, Juju, Big Ben, James Conner right there. Steelers defense is a big one there, especially on a home game. On the other side, Lamar's got the COVID. The Ravens defense is all decimated with injuries as well. Do you trust your Steelers enough, or do you trust this game to play enough that you're going to start your Steelers with confidence going into this weekend?
Yeah, I think right now you really can't make that decision. I think what you can do, though, is be prepared to have a backup plan. because we still have a couple of days before this could potentially get moved again. So we were in this situation earlier this year when it was Bills Titans on a Tuesday. And I remember there were people who benched players in that game because they didn't want to wait. So it's a similar situation. We're here on a Friday. Obviously we have, till Sunday morning, you're going to have to make those decisions. And it's a tough spot. And people are going to get burned. But this is a critical week. A lot of people are still battling for a playoff spot. So in some situations, you might go safe. But really, you can't make this decision until Sunday morning. Don't stress it now. But what you can do is come up with a backup plan. Just in your head go, okay, say Sunday morning comes and I just don't feel comfortable that the game's going to play Tuesday or it could get moved again. What am I going to do if I have Ben Roethlisberger? What am I going to do if I have the Steelers defense? And then just have the backup plan in place. But it's tough, though, because a lot of people don't want to roster two defenses right now, and I don't blame them. There is only one league where I do have two defenses, and that's because I'm setting it up for the playoffs, and the waiver wire closes in Week 13. So I had the Bears defense on bye last week. I picked up the Browns because I like their playoff schedule, and obviously the Browns came through last week. It's tougher to do in leagues with only 6 roster spots, so yeah, it's tough. And what if you have Ben Roethlisberger and Deontay Johnson, And maybe then you have DJ Chark, who was ruled out, and now you're just sitting there scrambling. So it's going to be tough. But I think just if you can, when you go through waivers this weekend, try and see if you can add someone to have a backup plan. But I don't think this is a decision you can make until Sunday. And some people are very conservative in nature, and they're going to bench any player from that game. And they might get burned. You might say, you know what, I can't risk it. I have a receiver that's comparable to Deontay Johnson. I'm going to not risk it and wait. And then Deontay Johnson plays Tuesday and has a huge game. And, we've all been there when we make those tough decisions. And you have, basically about, 30, 40 hours to think about this and decide what to do. But I hope the game plays. But there are people that are going to make decisions where they're like, I can't risk it. You can't, sometimes it comes to a spot. You can't risk a 0.
No, you definitely can't. So it's going to be a lot about depth. You're going to have to pay very close attention to your waiver wire. Find out who everybody dropped this past week. Find out who you might be able to grab over the next day or two. Some leagues, like the GST League, that runs a second waiver wire. That runs when? On Saturday night?
Saturday night, yeah.
Saturday night. So pay attention to that because you're going to have to do some lineup adjustments for a lot of these players. So,
by the way, real quickly, because I've been getting some of these questions and just saw, I knew Lamar Jackson wasn't going to play regardless because, he just tested positive, but Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins cannot play either on Tuesday.
Right. Yeah. They're still within that window. It's like a 10-day window or something like that. All right. Well, we'll put that game on the shelf. Let's look at some of the others as we look ahead to Week 12. Start off with some of the early games. Miami, they're a 7-point favorite over the Jets. The Jets are at home. Salvan Ahmed has been declared out. They're still not sure whether or not Myles Gaskin is going to play. It does sound like Sam Darnold is trending in the right direction to play this week, which probably upsets you, Adam, because he doesn't have that Bashard Perriman connection like Joe Flacco did. So all of a sudden, Jamison Crowder becomes more in play for you. Read on this game at all?
Yeah, there's not much I like here for fantasy. Crowder, obviously, with Darnold back, also he has the better matchup. Miami's corners are tough on the outside. I know they said they're going to go with a committee they don't want to give Frank Gore 30 carries, which means he's going to get 25. He's a desperation play. And on the Miami side, we're waiting to see what's going to happen at running back. Will Myles Gaskin be able to play? They haven't said that yet. And if he's out, I think a real deep sleeper is Malcolm Perry, who they've kind of used in the passing game a little bit. It'll probably be a committee at running back. And Devontae Parker is really the only guy I feel good about starting there for Miami. Tua's got this thumb issue. Looks like he'll be good to go, but it's not a great game for fantasy purposes.
No, it's going to be an ugly game. I have zero interest. I do feel like the Jets could cover that 7-point spread as the underdog here at home. So Cleveland heads down to Jacksonville. Jacksonville's starting Mike Glennon. DJ Chark is out. The line has already moved up to 7. I've got it at 6.5 in the Westgate Super Contest. Give me the Browns all day long. Give me all the shares of Nick Chubb. Give me a side order of Kareem Hunt, and maybe a dollop, right, of a little Jarvis Landry in here. This game to me just screams blowout, screams run heavy for Cleveland, screams easy cover.
It should be. It's the NFL, but yeah, I agree. I mean, Chubb obviously a great play. You got to figure he finds the end zone this week, if not once, twice. Kareem Hunt in the mix as well. We discussed this last week. I think this is a game they really should get Baker Mayfield going in the passing game. He hasn't had the ability to pass much because of the weather issues. It's not what they want to do, and I'm not saying play Baker Mayfield because there's no way I can trust him. And then on the Jacksonville side, it's pretty much James Robinson, and you pray that he finds the end zone. And I guess if you're desperate, maybe a Keelan Cole, and it looks like Laviska Shenault should be back. But, yeah, it's ugly for Jacksonville right now.
How about a little splash of Tyler Eifert in there?
Not for me.
All right, well. Arizona taking on the Patriots in New England. Cards are a 1.5-point favorite here. You're going to have Stephon Gilmore all over DeAndre Hopkins. Does that turn you on to Christian Kirk a little bit more? Patriots don't do well against the run. Does that scream Kenyon Drake over Chase Edmonds? And then on the other side of there, what Patriots can you trust now that you've got Sony Michel joining the backfield, which becomes another three-headed monster? And it's like Cam and Jacoby and Cam, right? Is that it?
Yeah, I think Jacoby, people might shy away from him after last week, but it looks like he was saying that they had a safety over the top a lot on him. So I think he'll bounce back in this one. It's tough to trust anyone else on the Patriots side. I mean, Damian Harris obviously is very game flow dependent, and we all expected a big game last week, and he did have the touchdown, fortunately, but not big yardage, and they fell behind. James White is a desperation play in season-long leagues now with Rex Burkhead out. Arizona side, I'm concerned about Kyler Murray. He's been dealing with this shoulder issue. They expect him to play. I think they're taking it to game time. But we saw last week he didn't run as much. And if he's not going to run as much, his value goes down. I'm not worried about Hopkins on Gilmore. Gilmore's just not the same player anymore. So Hopkins is fine. And Andy Isabella becomes a deep sleeper with Larry Fitzgerald out. He should play a lot in the slot. But Kyler Murray is, to me, a little bit of a concern. I mean, season-long leagues, you're playing him, but a DFS, you're taking a little bit of a risk here. Even though it's a great matchup, New England is terrible defensively this year.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a fantastic matchup, but yeah, one that I'm not going to trust in DFS. Obviously it's tough to sit Kyler against anybody in seasonal, but if you're one of those people who has two strong quarterbacks, maybe you do. We'll have to wait and see. Next game, Chargers visiting the Buffalo Bills. Bills are a 5-point home favorite. They're coming off of a bye week. We've seen a lot of teams coming off the bye playing real well, covering spreads like they're supposed to be doing. Chargers are another one of those teams who, their defense plays down in a lot of ways, but I feel like this game, all eyes are on Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. Do you disagree?
No, I mean, John Brown is out, and we've seen Josh Allen's numbers not as good without John Brown, but I don't think it'll be an issue versus the Chargers. They've got some injuries on the defensive side. Hayward's out, Melvin Ingram's out. So this is a good spot here for Buffalo. Got to like Josh Allen a lot. Did Cole Beasley, too. I mean, Cole Beasley should rack up.
The Beasles?
Yeah, man. He should get a ton of targets in this one. Definitely difficult to trust any of those Bills running backs. They've become more of a pass-heavy team, and they kind of don't go with the run anymore. And then on the Chargers side, again, got to love Herbert once again until he proves us wrong. I mean, he just continues to put up numbers.
Yeah.
Allen. Now, the backfield is a question mark. Anthony Lynn said there's a chance Austin Eckler plays. I don't think he does. Kalen Ballage is questionable. He stinks, but if he's going to get 20-plus touches, right? I mean, you can get 12 to 14 points in the PPR. I don't want to really play him in DFS, but in season-long leagues, he's certainly viable. But if he's out and Eckler's out, then I guess maybe we get the Josh Kelly and Tremaine Pope tandem.
Oh.
Yeah, not good.
Ew. Vegas traveling down to Atlanta. They're taking on the Falcons. Falcons are a 3-point home underdog here. A lot of people are pushing their chips all in on Derek Carr. A lot of pickups of Nelson Aguilar. Darren Waller. How do you not love Darren Waller this week? On the other side, Julio's still banged up. Do you trust that he plays? Do you trust the hamstring? Do you trust that he doesn't come out? Or do you push the chips all in on a guy on Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage, maybe even Hayden Hurst?
Yeah, again, I don't love Matt Ryan without Julio Jones. We've seen a few games this year. He's just not as good. So it's something to keep an eye on. You'll still play Ridley, but I don't know about the rest. I mean, Hayden Hurst, tight end's pretty bad. I know he had a 0 last week. He was banged up, but looks like he's good to go. Todd Gurley was not seen at the early portion of practice today. So Brian Hill could be someone. Most of my leagues, he was already picked up. I went to check. And he's pretty much gone. I think people have been kind of waiting and knowing that Gurley might not make it through the season with the arthritic knee. So he's someone that, with a lot of injuries at running back this week, you could maybe go to the waiver wire and plug him in. He's looked like he's had a little bit more juice than Gurley this year. And the Raiders aren't a great defense. So a lot of questions on the Atlanta side right now. And for the Raiders, Carr has played very well this year. There are games, though, he doesn't throw much. But Atlanta's actually been better against the run than against the pass. So I think Carr's an excellent streamer, definitely someone you could use in DFS, more so in cash. I don't know if the tournament upside is there for him. He's not a guy that I see throwing 4 touchdowns. Jacobs, we have to keep an eye on the injury report with a hip issue. My guess is he plays, but he's been very erratic this year. And especially in leagues that are PPR, he's not catching enough passes. Aguilar's boom or bust. I mean, go look at his game logs, man. I know people were picking him up, but, it is a good matchup. And, Waller's obviously one of the top tight end plays.
Waller's definitely one of the top tight end plays. Loving him. If you're paying down in DFS, Evan Engram all of a sudden pops once again. Giants coming off of a bye week here. They're taking on the Bengals. This one, you got Brandon Allen under center for Cincinnati. Cincinnati's defense has been terrible. Team seems like they're getting ready to pack it in, call it a year. Joe Mixon's on IR. Gio, they say, might be trending in the right direction to come back from his concussion, so he's there. But to me, this looks like, what you just said about Baker Mayfield, getting him right with this game against Jacksonville. How do you not unleash Daniel Jones, let him, carve up this Cincinnati secondary, which is very, very doable with his weapons?
Yeah, plus he could run a little bit. We've seen several games this year where he's broken off long runs, so definitely like him as a streamer this week. The only concern is if they do have a lead and kind of get conservative, but do like Wayne Gallman as well. Just keep in mind, though, and DFS just doesn't catch a lot of passes, so he's touchdown dependent. But this could be a week where he scores 2. Engram, Shepard, all fine plays on the Cincinnati side. Very tough to rely on anyone here. Gio's more of a RB3, maybe very low, high-end RB2 just because of volume, but it's tough to see this offense really moving much with Brandon Allen at quarterback, offensive line's a mess. And the only receiver that I would maybe have some confidence in is season long as Tyler Boyd out of the slot. Maybe he can get some targets, but we clearly have to downgrade this Bengals offense in a big way without Joe Burrow. And by the way, Jeremy Fowler's reporting Adam Thielen not expected to play Sunday, according to a source, as he remains on the COVID-19 list. So, man, COVID's just hitting big time now. No one's really worried about Larry Fitzgerald. We worry about his health, but we're not playing him. But Thielen's a pretty big fantasy asset. So Justin Jefferson we liked anyway, but you got to think now maybe he gets even more targets. And that guy's been phenomenal this year.
Jefferson, he's been great.
Yeah.
He's been, running clean routes, good hands. I was listening to some analysts talking about him, just the steps that he's taken, the growth that he's shown from week 1 to now has been incredibly impressive. Everybody's looking at, obviously they were looking at Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert for, MVPs. James Robinson, who's been looking fantastic in that backfield. A lot of underappreciation going out for Justin Jefferson. So I love that call. I definitely do. Titans Colts. This is going to be an interesting one here. I've been so bullish on the Colts defense all year. DeForest Buckner is on the COVID list. I just saw they lost Well, the linebackers also. It's not Leonard. It's damn. Either way, they're taking some hits there on the defense. Tennessee looking for a little retribution after a couple of weeks ago on Thursday night. Titans are a 3-point road dog. I'm kind of leaning on the Titans here. You know, even with a full healthy defense, Henry still rushed for 100 yards against the Colts. I think if the game plan sticks and they're softer against the run here, I feel like Tennessee can keep this one close. Whether they win or not is irrelevant. I just think that they can cover that spread.
Yeah, I like Tennessee too, +3. It's funny because we do our underdog segment on Alarm After Hours. We have to pick an underdog. And I had the third pick this week. I was like, no one's going to take Tennessee. Matt Kim, our producer, first pick, Tennessee +3. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, did you hack my computer or something? Like, what the hell? So, yeah, I like Tennessee +3 this week as well. I think a lot of people are going, oh, well, Indy beat them. Remember, too, it was like special teams were a disaster in that game for Tennessee.
Horrible.
And A.J. Brown had the drop early on. So, yeah, and the Colts are coming off an overtime win against Green Bay where they got, some fumbles bounced their way as well. Again, not to put them down. Rivers was a little banged up. It's a divisional game. So I think Tennessee, maybe they don't win, but they at least cover. And, yeah, on that side, Derrick Henry certainly gets a real big boost with Noah Buckner. And I think Autry's on the defensive lines out too. So, and to me, and Henry, like you said, already had 100 yards against them, 103. So like Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, you're always playing him. Tight end Jonnu Smith, always has a shot at a touchdown, but the floor is low, so he's right around a tight end 1. Corey Davis is always hit or miss. He's like in that wide receiver 4 range. And on the Indy side, I mean, look, I guess at this point we're playing Jonathan Taylor, right? I mean, he had the 20-plus carries. You hope that they do it again. Running back is such a disaster. But will we be surprised if we see Wilkins and Hines? But I would go with Taylor if I'm starting one. And then really only Michael Pittman. But it's still concerning to me that last week he only had 3 targets. They had 11 different players catch a pass. Why are they not feeding Michael Pittman? We all see what he can do after the catch. So he's the only guy I think you can play in the passing game for the Colts.
No love for Trey Burton or Jack Doyle?
Or Mo Alley Cox. That's the problem.
Right?
There's 3 of them. So,
It's brutal. Bobby Okereke, that was the linebacker who didn't practice again the other day and dealing with an ankle issue. He might be out. So that does put a hit on the Colts defense. Last of the early games, Carolina at Minnesota. No Adam Thielen. You don't like Mike Davis as much as I do.
No, I didn't say that. I had him ranked like at 11 or 12 at running back.
Right. So I put Mike Davis 1 spot ahead of Antonio Gibson. So I went against your ranking. So you don't like him as much as I do. That's fact.
We need context, though. I mean, if I have Davis, I'm starting him. I mean, I don't see many scenarios where you're not starting Mike Davis.
Well, if you got Antonio Gibson, you wouldn't have started him.
Exactly. And I'm pretty sure that's going to work out in my favor. I doubt Mike Davis is going to score 3 touchdowns. Possible, but unlikely. But yeah, I mean, Mike Davis, Teddy Bridgewater is a go. Taking off the injury report.
Revenge game narrative, Adam. I know you love those.
Are you using them in DFS?
Why wouldn't I? It's a revenge game narrative. No,
6,300 on DK. Okay. Wow. Oh, Matt Ryan's 59. Derek Carr 57. Okay. Daniel Jones 55. Man, don't you just pay up for like Mahomes or Josh Allen this week?
I'm totally paying up for Josh Allen this week. It's like a no-brainer.
Yeah. But yeah, Carolina, yeah, I mean, you feel good now. DJ Moore has been great. Samuel. Robbie Anderson's been good this year, but he doesn't score. Yeah. It's crazy. He doesn't score touchdowns.
He doesn't.
So, yeah, I mean, the usual suspects on Carolina. On the Minnesota side, it's Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, and let me see. Is there any way, I can't do it, but with Thielen out, do you go like an Olabisi Johnson or BB at minimum price?
Or do you just Do you buy into Kyle Rudolph with Irv Smith not being around? He's going to be
Well,
out.
I thought he saw was he limited? I don't think he's ruled out yet. I thought he was limited today, but that's something to keep an eye on.
He's doubtful.
What?
Doubtful.
Is he listed as doubtful now?
Listed as doubtful with the groin injury.
Okay. Rudolph, man. What is he, 20? He's 25 probably, right? Do you really want to mess around, though, at tight end this week? Are you paying for Kelsey?
Well, no, I'm probably paying for Waller is really
Waller,
the tight end who I'm going to target.
Yeah. I mean, look, you could go that low. I mean, Minnesota, we know is going to run with Dalvin Cook. He's 95 on DK. And Jefferson's got to be what is Jefferson? He's got to be a good play this week. He's 6,300, man. It's hard not to play him, man.
Of course it's hard not to play him. You know, again, that's if you're looking at DK, that's 6 to 6,800. That's a great range of wide receiver to be hanging out in. Like, you know, I mean, it used to be even better because Keenan Allen is always priced in that tier.
Yeah, they finally raised him.
I know, right? So he's like the second most expensive guy now. It's crazy. Just seeing this from Tom Pelissero, Steelers-Ravens, which is moved to Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Ravens-Cowboys from Thursday goes to Monday next week, a doubleheader on December the 7th.
Okay.
There you go.
Did they say, well, I'm assuming the Ravens-Cowboys first game that Monday? Yeah, 5 p.m. Eastern.
Yep.
On Monday, December 7th.
Yep. Lovely. That should be very interesting to have Jim Bowden on the air with me during a Cowboys.
Is he really going to care at that point, man? Like, for real?
Yes.
I've been saying this for weeks, and you know it. Just lose, bro. Get the better draft pick. Why win the division and get embarrassed at home? If they win the division, well, it's just probably unlikely now, but say you're rooting for them, and they're the 4, you're probably going to play Seattle, the Rams, Tampa Bay. They're going to get smoked. What's the point? And I don't like to have that losing mentality, but you got to be realistic, man. This team's going nowhere, man. So especially with the offensive line issues, just lose, get the better draft pick, and come back in for next year. It's just I've kind of been resigned to that the last few weeks. That's why I haven't been stressed out or emotional in these games. Usually I am the last few years, but once all these injuries happen, I'm like, let's do my fantasy team now and sports wagering. That's what it matters, Alan. It worked out. They got me the over 46.5.
Well, if you want to hear a grown man cry, and I mean sob uncontrollably, Jim Bowden will be in that glass case of emotion today from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern, as he aggravated me to the no point on Wednesday to now payback is yeah, there you go. Let's get through these games here because then we got to tap into our Thrive fantasy points. Afternoon games, Saints, Broncos. It's in Denver. Saints are favored by 6. I got, the Broncos, they play well at home. The altitude, that's always, an issue there. I don't know if I can go back to that well, though, against the Saints. But, again, it's Taysom Hill, and I just don't know what to expect, really, from there. Because now that we've seen him full game and what Sean Payton does Vic Fangio have the wherewithal to scheme against him? And, can the Broncos cover this 6-point spread?
Yeah, they can cover it. I don't know if I'll take them, but Denver's always a tough place to play. We could see now that there's a full game film on Taysom Hill, maybe they make some adjustments. I think in season-long leagues, though, you're probably playing him. He's a borderline QB1 just because of what he can do on the ground. It's just you don't expect 2 rushing touchdowns again, but he could have 40, 50 yards. What's crazy is that I think in the first half of that game, he only ran twice. They just really didn't have a lot of running plays designed, and maybe it's just they wanted to get him going in the passing game. He only attempted 23 passes as they played from ahead. Should be more competitive. So, DFS is a little bit more tricky, but again, we always like the running quarterbacks because the floor is high. They don't need to do much in the passing game. Kamara maybe was a little bit banged up last week. Remember, he was on the injury report with a foot, was again this week. Maybe that's why they limited a little bit. But I think people are going to run away from him in DFS because of the especially on DK with a full point PPR after what we saw last week with one target and no receptions. And is that a one game blip or is that a trend? And we don't know. We'll find out this week. So I think Kamara is a guy that people are not going to play this week. Do you agree?
I agree that a lot of people are going to be off him. And, listen, you see that questionable tag on him right now anyway. You go to DK and you got that big red Q. That immediately, it's amazing how many people immediately pivot off of a guy over there. I was looking at, some updates possibly for the watch list. I've got the playbook coming out tomorrow. And the question is do I go with Kamara? Do I not go with Kamara? I think he becomes an intriguing tournament play, but not somebody I'm going to lock in for cash.
Yeah, I agree, because people are going to go above to Cook, below to Henry and Chubb. So, hey, if you're playing in a tournament and you can get Kamara low ownership, he could score 3 touchdowns. Easy.
Yes, he could. Yes, he could. All right, San Francisco, they travel to the Rams. Rams coming off of a big win against Tampa Bay. They're 6.5-point favorites here. San Francisco, they're getting all their healthy. They're getting healthier. They don't have all their defensive bodies back yet, but Nick Mullins does have his weaponry. There's talk about Raheem Mostert being able to return for this game to get into that backfield mix. If he's back, that definitely he becomes, a guy that you probably are looking at playing as a potential RB2 or a flex play there. The Rams, it's Jared Goff, it's Robert Woods, it's Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, Woods is 5,800 on DK, man.
He's amazing, right? Amazing.
At least 28 DK points in 2 of the last 3. Now, we're not chasing 15 targets last week. I think that was just game plan. Tampa Bay's a very difficult team to run on, and I think they realized that and said, all right, we're just going to keep throwing short passes, and why not? Cooper Kupp felt like he had 100 receptions in the first half, and then it was Woods in the second half. So, yeah, we don't want to chase that too much. I think San Fran could keep this game close, man. This just kind of feels like that divisional letdown game after the Rams coming off a real good win. Everyone's talking them up of how good they are. San Fran, we don't know who's going to play, though. Is Brandon Ayuk ready to come back? Is Deebo Samuel ready to play? Mostert. So I think we're kind of just waiting to see what San Fran's going to throw out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of questionable tags over there. Not really interested in too many players. Chiefs Bucks. This one's going to be a big one. This is going to be the most watched game. It'll probably be one of the most bet games because everybody loves the Chiefs and everybody loves Tom Brady. This is one of those games where for seasonal fantasy, I'm starting everybody I need to start. For DFS, though, it's not that I want to fade the game, but it's not, Tampa's defense is rock solid. And the Chiefs can apply pressure at certain points. It's like one of those games where I just want to sit and watch it and enjoy it as opposed to being too heavily invested in it. You got a read on this one at all?
Yeah, I think we see a shootout. I expect a bounce-back game from Tom Brady in the offense. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, Bucks suck. They all watch Brady play like garbage. But the Chiefs, I know against the pass they've been pretty good this year, but we saw the Raiders just march up and down the field on them. And the Raiders have done it twice this year, so maybe they just have the right matchups. But I see the Bucks offense bouncing back, especially in the passing game. I think you could play pretty much anyone. Like Godwin the most. I'm not touching the running backs. Same thing on the Kansas City side. This is what I think Kansas City's going to do. And we've seen it a couple times this year. They're going to pass like crazy. I don't even think they're going to bother with the running game. The Bucks have been really good. They're going to be like, all right, you know what? We're going to just let Mahomes sling it. And I think that's what's going to happen. So Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins might play. So that might cut into DeMarcus Robinson a little bit. But, yeah, I think you're going to see both passing games go at it.
Beautiful. The Sunday night game, Chicago Bears visiting the Green Bay Packers. Packers are a 9-point favorite. You just don't know what to expect from the Bears offense, right? Trubisky might be back under center for them this week. He is going to play. So it's Trubisky now.
They wouldn't commit beyond this week.
Shocker. Matt Nagy needs to get fired, man. We need somebody other than Matt Nagy over there.
Brutal, man.
It's terrible. Allen Robinson in play. David Montgomery got clearance. Green Bay sucks against the run, but does Matt Nagy know well enough to run the ball? or is he going to sit there and try and force a shootout there with Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, you got to try and run the ball. The problem is that offensive line has been so bad this year. So Montgomery's a volume play. You never feel good about playing him.
Never.
Robinson, obviously, tough matchup, but he's going to get the volume. It's tough to like a lot on the Bears side, and the Packers. Rodgers, MVS looks like he's questionable, dealing with an Achilles issue. So Lazard came back last week. But the Packers are the same story, too. It's like, all right, we play Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, and I guess people have been playing MVS the last few weeks because he's been going off. But it's another team where you don't like too much. Tunyon at tight end, he's touchdown reliant. I know he came through last game out, but we've seen a lot of down games with him with Devontae Adams on the field.
Right. All right, and then the Monday night extravaganza, the Seahawks against the Eagles. I'll throw this out there. There's a post on fantasyalarm.com where John Impemba was talking about getting the Seahawks defense into your fantasy lineups, not just for this week, but for beyond. Being a sleeper D, talk about it in respect to the Philadelphia Eagles here. The offensive line is weak. Carson Wentz, we're talking about the offensive line, ranks 30th in pass blocking. Wentz has been sacked 40 times. The QB hurries, the intercept. He's thrown 14 picks to 14 touchdowns. Is the Seattle defense the sleeper play of the week?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I do like them. I think I have them ranked in the top 10. I'm pretty sure. But, yeah, they're probably available. Carlos Dunlap has really helped them. We've seen him have a big impact in 2 of the last 3 games. They're getting a little bit healthier. And I think they're on the wire because they've been so brutal this year. They're still bad against the pass, but they're starting to generate some pressure and get some guys healthy. So I think you want to play a defense against Philly almost every week just because of how Carson Wentz has just imploded and how bad that offense has been. But yeah, this is the time where, you're looking for those playoff matchups. I mentioned the Browns earlier. I like them defensively. I know they have some injuries right now, but they're still going against Jacksonville this week with Mike Glennon. So even with those guys out, it shouldn't be an issue. But they have the Giants and Jets in weeks 15 and 16. Daniel Jones is still turnover prone, the Jets offense. So, yeah, that's what you're looking for. Seahawks are one of those defenses as well, especially if you're going to the playoffs. Look ahead. And I usually don't endorse 2 defenses, but for the playoffs, if you have one, say you have a defense, you like week 14 and week 16, but you hate their week 15 matchup, and then you see someone in week 15 that's available that you love, I mean, you could do it. Again, the bye weeks are going to be gone soon. We still have 2 teams, Tampa and Carolina, on bye in week 13, but you're trimming the fat off the roster now. And, some of these wide receivers that are like the 5th, 6th receiver on your roster that you're never going to play. I know we got COVID and injuries, so it's a little bit different this year. But, yeah, I think you can roster 2 defenses now to set up for your playoff run.
Right on. All right. So there you go, guys. That is a nice little look at Week 12 coming up this weekend. Again, the Ravens-Steelers pushed to Tuesday. We'll see what happens there. I don't have a read on that until I know who's officially in and who's officially out. So that'll do it for Fantasy Alarm Sports Talk. We appreciate you all tuning in. Now it's time here for our Thrive Fantasy prop picks for the week. I'm Howard Bender. With me, of course, Adam Ronis. And what we're looking at here over at Thrive Fantasy is the $5 NFL Rush game. 20 props laid out there for you guys, and you pick 10. With 2 backup picks in there. I've given all the props over to Adam Ronis. He has selected his 10. So let's go with prop number 1, Adam. Which is your favorite?
Oh, I didn't do these in order of where they're my favorite. Right?
All right, just okay. 10. Give me 10 props.
Just want to be clear.
All right, don't rank them. I'm sorry.
Derek Carr over 1.5 touchdown passes. And it's somewhat risky because if they get up with a lead, they like to run the football a lot, but it's a great matchup against Atlanta. Atlanta's better against the run. They're allowed the most fantasy points to quarterbacks this year. Derek Carr has played very well, man. Better than I thought. I did not really like him going into the year, and he's been playing a lot better than I thought, and he has at least 2 touchdown passes in 7 of 10 games this year. Jacob's a little banged up on the injury report with a hip issue. We'll see. He probably plays, but I like Carr over 1.5 touchdown passes in this matchup.
All right, prop number 2, you're going to that Bucks game there. Talk to me about Tom Brady.
Yeah, Brady over 277.5 passing yards. And people might be like, what? Did you watch him play last week? Yeah, I did. And I think this is a spot where he's going to have to pass a lot. Chiefs are going to put up points. We've seen some cracks in the Buccaneers defense. It was just like a month ago. Oh, Bucks have one of the best defenses in the NFL. Well, that kind of has quickly fell into a different category. So, the last 2 weeks, the Chiefs have allowed 275 passing yards to Carr, and Bridgewater had 310. So Brady has the weapons. We've seen him bounce back in these spots before. The only issue is, can the Chiefs generate a lot of pressure on him? Because that's been the problem for Brady this year. When he's been under pressure, it's been a struggle. And, at times, especially in their losses, he doesn't hit plays downfield. But I think he bounces back. I'm going to take the over on this.
I love it. All right, next 2 props that you're going to Colts Titans. We got one on Phillip Rivers, one on Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I got Rivers under 275.5 passing yards. It's just a high number, and I know he had 308 against Tennessee in the last matchup, but he's been under this number 6 of the last 10 games. He's been a little bit banged up, and they just don't have explosive plays in this offense. So it's not like we expect Rivers to throw a 75-yard touchdown, and all of a sudden you're behind this number. It's a lot of short dinks and dunks, and we see that they want to run the football if they can. So this number's just a little bit too high for me, so I'm going to take the under.
All right, I like that. And then for Derrick Henry?
Yeah, I like the over 90.5 rushing yards. I know the Colts defense has been really good this year, but they have a lot of injuries. 2 defensive linemen out, linebacker out. And Derrick Henry is the only running back to have 100 yards rushing against this Colts defense this year. He had 103 on 19 carries. So they're going to feed him the rock. And Henry, I would never take an under on his rushing number, because how many times have we seen him break a 60, 70-yard run? It's just really tough to go against that, unless it's just like a lockdown run defense. And even then, I don't feel great. But I'm taking the over here on this number, because we know they're going to give him the ball 20-plus times.
All right, let's head back over to the Chiefs-Bucks game, because there's another couple of props that you like here. Let's start off with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I got over 24.5 completions. I think this is a game where Kansas City is going to pass a ton. The Buccaneers have been really good against the run. So I think the Chiefs are going to say, you know what? That's their strength. Fine. We have a bigger strength than Patrick Mahomes, and we're just going to let him throw. Sammy Watkins has been ruled out of this game. There looked like that he could play, but he's out. Not that that's a big deal, but it just means maybe Demarcus Robinson becomes a little bit more appealing. But Mahomes has gone over this number in 3 straight games. I just think the way this game script sets up, I think Andy Reid's a smart coach. We've seen some coaches that are really stupid in the NFL. We don't have time to go over that list, but Reid is a smart one, and he knows. We've seen him do it a few times this year, and I like coaches that do it. Belichick's done it in the past. Like, hey, this team's good against the run. All right, fine. We'll just pass all over him, and I think that's what Kansas City does in this game.
All right, beautiful. Ronald Jones, you're looking at him. Chiefs, they struggle against the run defense, but you're not sold on Ronald Jones.
Yeah, they just I'm going to go under 65.5 rushing yards. I mean, Leonard Fournette looked terrible last week. I mean, his vision was awful. I mean, there was a play, he had a hole, and he just ran right in the back of the offensive lineman. And we've seen Jones 2 weeks ago have that 98-yard run, but 4 of his last 5 games, 34 rushing yards or fewer. And Kansas City has been pretty good, at least in terms of holding running backs under this number or close to it. So I think this is more of a pass game for Tampa, and I got to take the under on this number for Ronald Jones.
Okay, listen, I can dig that. I can definitely dig that. Moving on over to the Green Bay game, you're looking at a prop on Aaron Jones. It's 88.5 rushing and receiving yards added together. Over or under?
Under. I hope I'm wrong on this as someone that has Aaron Jones in the league, but I don't know if it's the calf issue or something, but he just hasn't been the same lately. He's been under this number in 3 of the last 4 games, and the Bears' defense is really good against the run. Now, Akeem Hicks is listed as questionable, so that could change things because we see without him in there, they're not as good. But it just seems like we know Jamal Williams is sprinkled in as well. So this is probably my least favorite of the ones I've given. But again, he's been under in 3 of the last 4, and it might be under again. He could get 50 yards rushing and 34 receiving, and he's under this number.
That is definitely true. All right. Buffalo, you're looking at Stephon Diggs, 82.5 receiving yards. I'm super bullish on Josh Allen, so you better be going over here.
Oh, hell yeah, I'm over. He's been over in 7 of the 10 games. Chargers defense is really banged up, not that good to begin with. They're home. I don't think there's any weather issues. I know the weather, not that I'm close to Buffalo, but the weather looks fine for the weekend, so I'll double check that. But yeah, I mean, Diggs has just been ridiculous this year, and it's a good matchup. No John Brown, maybe a couple more targets go in the direction of Diggs. So yeah, I got to take the over on this.
Beautiful. And your final prop, number 10, here we go. Justin Herbert, completions, 24.5, over or under?
Yeah, I'm going to take the over. I think they're going to be playing from behind. He's going to have to pass quite a bit. They kind of go pass heavy, too, even in neutral game scripts. And, he's going to hit Keenan Allen for 7, 8, 9 receptions. So right there, you got a bunch. He's going to throw it to the running backs, and they'll be playing from behind as well. And Kalen Ballage is questionable. Austin Eckler, they said there's a chance to play. My guess is he doesn't. So I just see him passing quite a bit. And this Buffalo defense is not what we expected going into the year. There was one other one that we didn't discuss. Keenan Allen, over 5.5 receptions.
Oh, how did I miss that one? Keenan Allen, over 5.5 receptions. That could be like the easiest no-brainer of all time. The dude's got 12. He's got double-digit targets in every single game except for the one game where he ended up leaving early with back spasms.
Yeah, and he's been over this number 7 of 10. All right, and take the other one out as you alluded to. Like, I am not taking under this number until he proves us wrong. He has 81 receptions in 10 games, man.
Yeah.
Guy's just a machine. So yeah, that would, if anyone's favorite on the list, that's number 1.
All right, beautiful. That's going to do it for us here. Go to fantasyalarm.com/thrive. Use the promo code ALARM for a match deposit up to $250. Jump into the $5 NFL rush. Come compete against me and Adam Ronis because I'm taking his prop picks. We
crushed it last week, man. This video.
We did. We definitely did. So that's going to do it for us here today. Big thanks to all of you for tuning in. For Adam Ronis, I'm Howard Bender. We'll catch you next time.